Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm your host, Michelle. Leah is going to be coming here shortly, but I thought I would go ahead and get started and give you a little bit of a brief update as to why we are running late, because you guys are kind of like family. So we've been kind of telling you here and there about Grandma Marilyn and how she's doing, and she was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And yesterday she went to hospice. So we are going to visit her quite frequently at hospice. And so that's why we were running late today. So thank you guys so very much for all of your thoughts and all of your prayers. It's very, very, very much appreciated. We haven't exactly been getting very much sleep. And there's still a farm to run and a business to run and a YouTube channel to run and our uncle to take care of and all of that. None of that stops during all of this. But if something's going to give, I think you guys understand that you might be it. But we're still trying to fit you in. So anyway, we knew that you guys would understand. That's why I went live. I did a little short video a little bit ago to let you know that we were running late. So I have good news, actually, aside from the fact that Tommy has been released, which we're going to get to that here in a minute. And that is the fact that many of you who have, sorry, I want to make sure that I'm in the chat and like I'm not on silent and you guys are like, Michelle, we can't hear you or something ridiculous. Many of you guys were there when we got the weird copyright strike takedown on an old video that we had, and then we had a strike on our channel. Last night I got an email far after it should have been sent, that has been taken care of. We now have no strike on our account on Mass Faith 3. If you guys are watching this on Resistance Chicks, we were good there because after I got the notification on Mass Faith 3, I went to that video on Resistance Chicks and just removed it. It was unimportant, really. It was kind of ridiculous. But we won that copyright takedown. The video was reinstated and stuff. But the biggest news that I have to tell you as far as our Resistance Chicks channel goes is the fact that, okay, so ever since we did that Jordan Peterson video back in January, they banned us from our channel.
8 months, right?
Yeah, they banned us from our channel they stopped live streaming.
For 3 months?
It was
90 days.
Seemed like it was longer than that, like 120, I don't know. So we streamed live on Resistance Chicks for that time. Then we came back to Mass Faith 3 when that was up. And when we came back, every single time you guys, the viewer, would watch any single one of our videos.
So we were live.
It would, a little thing would pop up in the corner. It would say,
and
Mass Faith 3 is live now. And it would take you back to that Jordan Peterson video that we did.
We are thinking that we might get some people
We're hoping that you guys might get more notifications now when we go live because that glitch is fixed, that we're not constantly in live mode.
We might go back into the live,
we may go back into the
live carousel.
We can only hope and pray. But anyway, so I got an email like 4 in the morning. I couldn't sleep all night, so I'm checking my email. And I found, and the lady finally tells me after months and months and months and months of me trying to get something done with these people, we finally fixed the glitch on your channel, and I went and checked, and it is now fixed. You guys can double that, check that yourself, and go and find any video that we've done in the past. And right now, actually, I would appreciate it if somebody would go and do it. Click on any old video right now. See if it pops up, Mass Faith 3 is live now, and actually takes you back to this. I'm curious. Before it would just take you to Jordan Peterson.
So I wonder why people didn't come. So let's get straight into this.
Tommy Robinson. Okay, yeah. So we're going to start with Raheem Kassim. And he did an interview with a...
let's start. Do you have the Tommy one too?
I do?
Let's play that one first.
All right, let's play that one first.
Yeah, let's get people straight to the good news. Well, okay.
Tummy on Tuckerson.
Boy, he looks like he lost 5 pounds since he was interviewed yesterday.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's like,
can't you eat now?
Well, are we going to play the interview with Ezra too? Because that was really powerful. I don't know if we should even start with that one.
Play this one.
Okay.
I think actually the interview with Ezra actually kind of...
Does he say all that stuff in here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Ezra Levant did an interview with Tommy too.
Right.
So let's go back to the beginning here.
The United Kingdom has become a mere shadow of the nation that gave us freedom of speech, freedom of the press, a host of other rights that we take for granted but probably should not take for granted. Nobody knows that better than Tommy Robinson. In May of this year, he was arrested for attempting to cover the trial of a sexual grooming gang in the UK for speaking out loud on the sidewalk. He was taken to prison with barely any time to muster a defense. He was tried and sentenced to 13 months in jail. Now, after more than 2 months behind bars in solitary confinement, during which time he was attacked by journalists in the UK, almost nobody defended him. But tonight he has been released on bail after winning an appeal. Tommy Robinson joins us now for his first and only interview. Tommy Robinson, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us. I know that you spent the last 2.5 months by yourself in a cell, so you're probably feeling a little bit bewildered to be out. Tell us what it was like for you behind bars.
For me, behind bars, the way I was treated, I was taken to a prison with quite a low Muslim population. What I'm known for is criticising Islam, so there's been many planned attempts to murder me and kill me in this country. I was taken to a prison with a low Muslim population of 7%, where things were relatively normal. I was separated from other prisoners, but the prison officers made sure they opened my doors multiple times during the day, and they took me out to play pool and snooker with themselves. I was then taken from that prison and transferred to another prison. And I was transferred to the prison with the largest Muslim population in the UK for a CCAT prison. I was then put on solitary confinement, where I spent 2 months not seeing or speaking to anybody, and they used the reason that I was in danger. Now, they would have had risk assessments before I went there. I was purposely taken to be put in danger so that then that reason could be used to then put me on solitary confinement. And if you think about what has happened in this case, it took a number of hours to take me before court, prosecute me, unlawfully imprison me, and then it took 2 months with the prisons moving me to prevent my legal access, shortening my legal visits, and it took months before I got the opportunity to go before a judge. Once the judge heard what had happened in the trial, we found so many illegal and wrongdoings within this kangaroo court that then it took another 2 weeks before I was freed. And to be honest, this whole encounter, if you talk about, I haven't eaten. I've lost nearly 40 pounds in prison. I had 1 tin of tuna and a piece of fruit a day. I was supposed to be in Her Majesty's prison service, not Guantanamo Bay. I couldn't open my windows because I was having excrement and spit put through them. I believe this whole process, and Tucker,
He's like,
this isn't the first.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but who is putting excrement through your window and spit through your window?
So my prison cell that I was put in was on the lower level, the ground level, which it didn't have to be. So it was on the ground level. So every prisoner would walk past my cell window, everyone as they walk out. So when my windows were open, every prisoner's walking past. The mosque for the prison was directly opposite my cell. So every time, and we've had huge heat waves, I was literally drenched day to day, and I had excrement and spit thrown through the doors, through my windows. So in the end, I had completely blocked up windows. I had to block up all of my cell windows, and all of this. When I say this to a lot of people around the world, this current case, and the world has watched it, has shocked them. For me, this has been nothing new. There's some things I have not spoke about in the past. Where in 2012, I spent 5 months on solitary confinement in the British prison. This goes against every human right and every law. I spent 5 months. When I come out, I was diagnosed with a form of post-traumatic stress disorder. I've never spoke about that publicly because I don't want to insult members of the military who have witnessed war and try and compare being locked in a cell and on solitary confinement to that. But my medical records are fully aware, that the authorities are fully aware of them, the government are fully aware of them, the prison service are fully aware of them. They know what that did to me. They know what I went through after that. They elite.
But I guess may I interrupt you? I just want our viewers to understand why this happened to you in the first place. You went to prison in a supposedly free country for expressing unfashionable opinions in public. Did you, with this last round, you've been in jail for 2 months, did you hit anybody? Did you steal anything? Or did you say something the government didn't like?
There was a court case going on where 29 people were in court for gang raping up to 100 young children. Now, I stood outside the court and I spoke, and all I done was read a BBC News article that is still online now for millions of people to see. Now, and I was taken, and everyone would have watched the video. They said for a breach of the peace. They transported me to a police custody, and then my solicitor contacted the police custody. Then they emailed my solicitor, which my solicitor has this email, saying I was being released. Then they took me in a van back to the court through the back door. They put me up before a judge, and media reports have said that I pled guilty. At no point was I even asked whether I was guilty or not guilty. I was not even told, and I still, to this point now, have not been told and do not know what it is I'm deemed to have done wrong. In a British court of law, for a fair trial for anyone, they have to understand what it is they're being accused of. Contempt of court. That's all I've been told. What contempt of court? I was fully aware outside that court. I made sure to point out that these men are innocent until proven guilty. I said alleged. I was non-confrontational. There is no, the judges, and I know the law, the judges have no power to issue reporting restrictions on anybody, on any information that is already in the public domain. I was taken and whisked away, and what we've seen this week is the highest judge in our country has completely condemned this as flawed, completely criticised the handling of this case, the kangaroo court style it was to imprison me, and my biggest concern with it is, at this time, that when this has happened and so many people, I say thank you to the Middle East Forum, I thank you to Congressman Gosar, I thank you to Ambassador Brownback, people, thank you to yourself, Tucker, people who come out, because we know that in this country, anyone who speaks about Islam, you can be completely liberal. The minute you mention, criticise Islam, you are deemed and attacked by everybody. Now, and people put their neck on the line.
Let me just ask you now, did anyone defend you? I mean, even if people disagree with you, you would think some would say he has a right, this man has a right to express his opinions. Did anybody defend your right to say what you think is true?
Everyone of authority and every media company and mainstream media lined up to completely do hatchet jobs about why I should be in prison and how I deserve to be in prison. And the worst one, I'm reading a human rights lawyer defending why I should be in prison. Now, I'm in prison, I'm facing absolute, they know what they're doing to me. They know, at the time when I was in prison, they then come and see me in my prison cell and say, police are on their way to your house because there's intel there's going to be acid attacks against your wife. Now,
I'm sorry, Tommy, we're out of time, and on that sad note, I wish you good luck in recovering from this and on the time you're going to take off. And I just want our viewers to understand that this has happened in a country that we believed was free, and without our vigilance, it could happen here. That's not hysteria, it's real. Tommy Robinson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a few comments here. Somebody said that there's a channel called the Ghost Channel who has a body language. Go to YouTube channel Body Language Ghost, and she has a reading of Tommy's body language. I think I could read it pretty well. Agitated, upset, has gone through a lot of stuff. The prison system has been appalling to Tommy. He looked half his weight.
So I wanted to address that a little bit if we're not going to play Ezra's.
I checked and it's working.
Ezra's video.
No, we should,
And that is this.
Where's
there
Amnesty
were
International?
The Muslims were the ones that were cooking Tommy's food. So Tommy made his own choice to buy the fruit and to buy the tuna.
But he was only allowed 12
him
pounds a week.
Exactly, and they wouldn't allow him to use like his own money
to buy
other food, and so he chose to not be poisoned.
So the Muslims were cooking his food, and they would like spit in it, and then they
would say something.
How was your food, Tommy?
How was your food, Tommy? How was your food? So he's like, listen, if they're saying that about my food and they're the ones cooking it, I'm not going to eat it. Mm-hmm. And that's why he dropped all that weight. You can't live on a can of tuna and fruit.
This was a political murder attempt.
Exactly, it was. Absolutely.
Somebody says Tommy should, Edward says Tommy should move to the U.S. It's awful. I'm pretty sure that Tommy has had some offers, and I think that he feels that his calling is to take care of, you guys haven't seen his kids' video. Go find that.
We played that.
We did?
Mm-hmm. We did that Wednesday.
Was it? We did that?
With the hug and all that. That's the thumbnail for that video.
Okay, great. I think Tommy is in shock. You're definitely right on that. Shame on Nigel. Tommy had to be kept in his prison cell, had to keep his prison window cell closed during the heat wave because they would throw poop through his window, and that is so true. It's so crazy because nobody goes to prison in the United States for reading on a case outside of accord.
Well, it's something that's already been published in the public domain. That article, like Tommy just said, to reiterate, was never taken out of the public square.
Right.
It was not taken offline.
Right.
I mean, seriously. And that's what he was reading, the BBC article.
We have a First Amendment right here. I mean, have you seen what they say about our own president everywhere?
Oh, yeah.
President Trump's being investigated. You're allowed to, and Manafort has this huge trial. Everybody's out front of Manafort telling all these things. Prejudice to jury.
Why is it that the religion that shall not be named, when they commit a crime, it's more hush-hush than anything else? It's the one thing you're not allowed to talk about.
We can't even say the religion.
But if Catholic priests or something...
Oh, they're all over that.
They're allowed to talk about that religion.
I've never seen a hush-hush
a Protestant,
jury,
an Amish, I mean, any religion outside of the religion that shall not be named, I mean, you're allowed to talk about it.
The Catholics do keep their own issues hush-hush on purpose.
They do, but you don't go to jail for them.
But we don't go to jail. We don't have to be hush-hush.
Right.
Like, they might not get information.
There is no other religion that is protected like this one.
Once that information's out there, we are all allowed to report on it.
Absolutely.
So you're going to go ahead.
All right, so now we're going to go to Raheem's video where he does an interview, I think on Channel 4. Hopefully we don't have issues. Nope, Channel 24, so I think we'll be all right.
Is a fellow at the Middle East Forum. Raheem Kassam is also a spokesman for Free Tommy Robinson. Thank you for being with us, Raheem. As we mentioned, the MEF has been actively supporting Robinson in a number of ways, legally, politically. What is your reaction to him winning the appeal and being released on bail?
Well, today is a great day for freedom of speech in the United Kingdom because for those paying very close attention to this case, what went down in Leeds Crown Court on May the 25th was a total miscarriage of justice. And that's what we heard from the senior judges in the appeal court today, who recognised that Tommy was not given the chance to defend himself. He was not given the opportunity to enter a plea on the day, and he was not even told what he...
So, if Tommy's a far-right activist, what is Islam far-left?
I know.
Because his only thing that makes him right-wing is that he speaks out against radical Islam.
Right.
Like, I don't really see him speak out about
on other political issues.
Other issues.
Do you want that video to play? It's not playing.
Oh, okay.
He was being held in contempt of court for.
Can't see the video.
There are several different things that went down on that day that was ushered in by Judge Jeffrey Marson that have been found to be completely anathema to a free trial. Let's not make any bones about this. This was a political imprisonment. He's been treated as a political prisoner, and I literally just got off the phone with him 2 minutes before coming on this show, and he detailed to me the treatment that he suffered in prison. 23 and a half hours in solitary confinement every day. He was being spat at through the cell window. He was being threatened through the little pane in the cell door. And the question is, how did this all come to pass, given that, as we now know, the original conviction was not appropriate and not carried through correctly in the first place? There are very serious questions to answer, from Her Majesty's Prison Service all the way up to the Attorney General of the United Kingdom.
All right, we'll get to that, but I want to get a clearer picture on why you are supporting him. He was on this show last year. My impression from that interview is that he is fighting against jihadist ideologies that are behind those terrorist attacks in the UK, and that he's trying to counter the influence of Islamic extremism and Sharia law. But others have called him a racist, a hate mongerer. They say that he's anti-all Muslims and that he's inciting violence against all Muslims. You said you just spoke to him, you know him well. What does Tommy Robinson stand for, and why do you support him?
Well, I actually took the time to get to know him. I initially used to believe what the establishment media told us about him, and I didn't want to touch him with a barge pole. And then I invited him in to my office a few years ago to come and meet and sit down and chat. And I conducted an hour-long interview on YouTube with him where people can see exactly who he is, what he stands for, and where he comes from. Here's the thing about Tommy. He's a working-class lad from Luton. He doesn't have any airs or graces about him. He hasn't done the whole political or media training thing. He's not a frequenter of Westminster bars and the House of Commons bars and so on and so forth. So yes, he's rough around the edges. But from what I heard from him and what I've got to understand about him over the last few years, here is a man who hates injustice of any kind, and I really mean any kind. He is an anti-racist, much more so than the left-wing campaigners that campaign against him. He is anti-female genital mutilation. He is anti-Sharia. He is anti-halal slaughter. You know, there are all sorts of injustices that we see in the United Kingdom. Yes, many of them tied to Muslim communities, but actually not to the Muslims themselves, but rather to the extremist elements in their ranks and to Sharia law that Tommy campaigns on. And how can you blame him? When you look at his town, Luton, how it's changed over the past couple of decades because of mass migration. You know, my parents were Muslim immigrants into the United Kingdom too, and I can tell you something, Tommy doesn't have a problem with them. He has a problem with people who are trying to, as some of my friends call it, impose Sharia supremacy, as we have seen in the United Kingdom. And for those who are sort of questioning it, shrugging their shoulders, scratching their heads and going, yeah, I don't believe that that could be happening in the United Kingdom today. Let me tell you something. It's happening in my neighbourhood. It's happening all across London. It's happening all across the United Kingdom. And I'd be happy to show anybody with any doubts around these communities, as I did with the New York Times Magazine, who ended up agreeing with me about this. So that's where we're coming from. That's where Tommy's coming from. And I will say this, I love your news channel, but calling him far right in the introduction, I think belies the truth.
Okay, a valid point, although that is how most people do see him for his previous associations. But as I said in my interview with him, that was not necessarily the impression that I got. It was more that he was trying to counter the Islamic jihadist ideology. But Raheem, does it detract from his message, however, when you have far-right people supporting him, when you have white nationalists championing his cause?
Well, we've had several demonstrations into the tens of thousands of people out on the streets of Westminster and Whitehall in the past couple of months. As you say, the Middle East Forum very kindly offered to help put those on, and I was the master of ceremonies at both of those events. And I've got to tell you, out of crowds of 10 to 15,000 each time, yeah, you know what, there was 50 or 100 people who I prefer weren't there. People who are so disenfranchised by the political system that they go to extremes. But you just had a segment about Jeremy Corbyn earlier in this hour. I mean, this is a leader of a party which has now been infiltrated en masse right to its upper echelons by overt anti-Semites. You know, we are a small group of people who believe in certain principles that, again, have, yes, we acknowledge problems with some attendees, a handful of attendees. It's not quite the same thing. And so whenever I get the fingers pointed at me and pointed at us, I say, hold on a minute. Her Majesty's loyal opposition is now an anti-Semitic party, and you're pointing fingers at us for having a few bad eggs in our ranks. Well, look, we're trying to get rid of them, and we will get rid of them. And we'll focus on what's really happening in the country at large.
And to that, and I believe that's why he distanced himself from the EDL.
Oh my gosh.
Raheem, those behind Robinson say that the bigger point is that if someone...
Oh yeah, we don't want to do a copyright infringement.
I know.
We didn't play the whole thing. All right, so that was an excellent interview. Thank you, Worth a Look, for sending that to us, Justin. Who, did we ever wish him a happy birthday? Live on air, because we did go live on Wednesday, and he had a birthday on Sunday, was in the chat, never said, hey guys, it's my birthday, does anybody want to say happy birthday to me?
Happy birthday, Worth a Look, Justin.
So I want you guys to all take the opportunity right now, because this is still his birthday week, to wish him a very, very happy birthday. He's such a special part of our channel, and if we lived closer, he would be one of our friends. That's not a joke. But we're kind of far away. For those of you that don't know, he's in Manchester, but like across the pond. So happy birthday, Justin. We love you.
Well said, Raheem.
Well said, Raheem. That was an excellent
Tommy is exactly
interview.
The kind of man that founded the USA.
Do you know why I love Raheem Kassim? Because he is able to say the right things
in a very
cohesive and respectable way, and with a little bit of force, but
he is really self-controlled, because on Twitter he like swears like a sailor. But when he gets on these shows, he's very posh. He's very put together. He's very well spoken, and so
as you should be. I love him so much. He's able to state the facts, and I actually appreciated that newscaster very much. She was really
very fair. She was very fair. Okay, so to our next headline here. This is so weird to me. I don't know why it has taken over Twitter by storm, but I guess there's a chick here, this Asian chick, who got hired as on the New York Times editorial board. Okay, so I'm going to show you a clip when I find it. Actually,
if and when. Do you want me to find it?
Yeah. So a couple people shared it. You don't have to bring up hers, but like that Sarah Sanders video.
I know. I saw her share that, actually.
So if you bring up that particular video,
I will bring it up
and let us watch it. Sarah Sanders gets ridiculed by Jim Acosta once again for like causing hateful rhetoric and blah blah blah. Well, speaking of, she had to defend. He wanted her to say, "Can you right here definitively say that the media is not the enemy of the people?" Well. Then they get Ivanka in, and Ivanka says, no, the media is not the enemy of the people. And then Donald Trump tweets out, Ivanka's right. The media is not the enemy of the people. It's the fake news media that's the enemy of the people. And he knows how to spin everything, even his daughter's words.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is fantastic because he's absolutely right. There's all kinds of media out there, right? And the fake news media is the enemy of the people.
So you know what? This is one of our friends' grandmothers, by the way, who Leah was talking about.
But don't share from her.
I'm not going to, but what I'm trying to say is I'm going through her posts, and I'm like, we could just do a whole news show from her posts. All right, you guys.
All right, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay. She's not done. Forget it.
So I'm going to say, this is the story here. Okay, so this Sarah Jeong was outed as a bigot yesterday after dozens of tweets from less than 4 years ago were unearthed, revealing this weird, like, hatred for white people. Like, it wasn't just, like, one thing, like, white people stink, or white people, you know, don't know how to do rap, or something like that. It's, like, this constant barrage. Like, she hates white people.
Birthday boy Justin Hughes raps. He's white. He raps really well.
The Times, in response, claimed to have known about the tweets and said they were simply Jeong in just kind of pretending to be a racist. Her journalism, the fact that she is a young Asian woman, have her a subject of frequent online harassment. For a period of time, she responded to that harassment by just kind of imitating the rhetoric of her harassers. Except this was quickly dispelled after several tweets of Jeong in which she drops casual bigotry, such as F white women, out of the blue. Okay?
Really?
And they were caught by other Twitter users.
That's classy.
Now, as the Daily Caller's Amber Athney reports, Young's Twitter history has also reveals hatred of cop and men. The New York Times claimed that Young was imitating the behavior of the people who harassed her online, but this does not explain why she was tweeting F the police and encouraging people to kill all men. A search for cops and police on Young's Twitter reveals an extensive history of anti-cop sentiment and a lack of sympathy for police who are injured on the job. In one tweet from 2014, she wrote, "Let me know when a cop gets killed by a rock or Molotov cocktail or a stray shard of glass from a precious window. Cops are a-holes," she said in 2015. If we're talking big sweeping bans on SHIT that kills people, why don't we ever talk about banning the police?
Wow.
Yeah. So Blue Lives Matter said, tweeted out that she said, "I would fight the cops with my guns. Cops could die. How can you kill all men without a good vampy lipstick? Kill more men." And then somebody, the media says Trump voters are white, racist, and Nazis, and racism is why Trump won. New York Times, racism is fine if you're cruding on white people. And actually, I've seen several statements say that because white people are at the top of this food chain that they have created in the Western world, obviously there's a rest of the world that's not all white, by the way, and your white people aren't at the top of. Go to just Africa.
Yeah.
Things
you
like
mean
that.
As a majority?
Yeah, so because white people are at the top, it's okay to say or do anything to them because it will never hurt them. But because there's systemic racism and black people and Jews and LGBT and women and all everyone that's not a white male, okay? Any one of those, if you say any of that stuff about them, it's racism. Because white men are at the top, you can say anything against them.
So I'm not even going to go down the line of even trying to defend this, but I will just we can just talk about how it's ridiculously insane. You know it, and I know it, and they know it.
This is
they know their argument is insane. They're just peddling it as if it's not, to see if we can get some of the lesser minded people to believe it.
But what I love is that she also talked horribly about the New York Times. New York Times opinion is the thought catalog for baby boomers. You know what? You know what is good? That someone is finally suing the New York Times for libel. After a bad day, some people come home and kick the furniture. I get on the internet and make fun of the New York Times. And now she's on the editorial board. So, like, she hates everybody and everything, even the company that hired her, and they hired her anyways.
You know what's really interesting? I was scrolling through my Facebook feed earlier today, and somebody had posted a video where a teacher's explaining how, to children, how what they post as far as bullying goes is going to be used one day by, you know, a potential hire, you know, for a job or getting a scholarship for college, and they can go back and they can read what you said, and then you won't even know that you were up for it, and already you're, you know, given the boot. The New York Times should go back and comb through their employees' tweets to see if, just by chance, maybe their future employee or a potential employee is talking bad about them. That might be a good idea.
At one time, the BBC says New York Times stands by racist tweets reporter, and in the next minute they put it in quotes racist tweets reporter. They're very racist. There's no quotes about this. It's just racism. I'm going to show you a couple more because it's kind of crazy. And we wonder why we're up in arms at the, quote, fake news media, because all fake.
How many people are getting fired right now because of racism? The Papa John's guy, right? Has to step down as the CEO of his own company, which actually I'm okay with because I don't agree with what he said. But my point is, on the people are being fired, they are losing their jobs, they're losing their positions because of racist comments, and this girl is given a position in spite of her racist comments and probably because of them.
So this guy, Nick Monroe, said, I decided to wait until now to talk about Sarah Young because I didn't want to be part of this whole outrage mob on either side, but alas, here we are. The New York Times put their foot down and stood by her. So the argument at hand is if you replace the word white with black, she would have been kicked out immediately. And let's see the merit to that. So then here are some of her tweets. Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men. Dumb effing white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs peeing on fire hydrants. Are white people genetically predisposed to burn faster in the sun, thus logically being only fit to live underground like groveling goblins? Let me just tell you something. You Asians, I don't understand. Like, Asians burn too, so I don't know. Aren't you kind of like white as well? Like, when I look at you, you're like white, but you're Asian. So, like, this dude just parted ways with his workplace over his behavior on social media, and people are making him out to be a martyr. When Demos says patterns of behavior, they mean pattern behavior. Let's see, this man, women of color are going to be the reason Donald Trump won't be president. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
And she says, gosh, I hope so.
He actually got a significant vote from women of color, more than any other white president.
And then she says, I mean, I hope he gets defeated and F white women. LOL. So that's what this guy was saying I could find at a glance. And then it goes back. I mean, like, this is not one, it's not two, it's not three. I'm not hating, I'm just telling you also some of my best friends are white men, also white feminists. It's okay to be a white feminist. You don't have to be ashamed. Coos gently. I'm having such a good time writing this essay, but I'm definitely going to have to cut out all the white people insults. I don't hate white people. Some of my best friends are white, she says. There's white people and then there's white people. Done with the internet for today. White person rage quit on me because I joked about making fun of white people. So there's she just keeps it's really hard to make white people jokes. I say this in empirical matter. My undergrad comedy magazine often experimented with it. So
wow. Well, that's nice.
The high school dropout story is always the story of a white guy.
Okay. There's an issue there. You know, the high school dropout white guy is probably the white guy that you should be okay with. Like, I could actually maybe go with you if you hated the, upper class, snobby, you know.
If you had said, and somebody else said this, if you had said like elitist people or like...
But the dropout is usually the white kid who lived in government housing or had an abusive parent or something like that. So maybe, little missy, you might not have chose that as your example for, you know, calling out white people.
So here's the thing. Some of it's joking, and I can kind of get that. But, like, it's so weird. Whenever two or more white leftists get together, they must argue over why the left failed. Time spent is proportional to the number of leftists.
So somebody was saying, don't step around this to go ahead and substitute, Kenneth, the N-word for white men. I will not ever use the N-word, but you could say black here, and then you would understand just how stark this is, because it actually doesn't sound that bad when you hear white in there. We're all immune to it, and that's why she's okay with saying it. She thinks it doesn't matter, but it's the same hatred. It's the same hatred. So, like I said, I'm not going to defend or whatever. I think it's enough to just say this is pure insanity. This is just cray-cray.
She's just crazy. She's just crazy. So if we're on our, let's see. Here's another one. Eskimo yells, "I hate white people," while punching a white woman. Judge rules it's not a hate crime. So in Calgary, in Canada, an Indigenous woman was knocked out, by a white woman's tooth. An Indigenous woman knocked out a white woman's tooth on November 1st while yelling, "I hate white women." And that woman did not commit a hate crime. Okay? The victim, Lydia White, was standing outside of a Calgary pub talking to another person while Crow Chief walked up and yelled, "I hate white people," and began punching this woman in the face, knocking out a tooth. Upon her arrest, Crow Chief told the police the white man was out to get her. And so then she attacked a white woman. But the provincial court judge, in a decision, said that her motivation for striking Lydia was not related to a racial bias. And the prosecutor sought a sentence of 12 to 15 months, but she just got probation.
So it's very interesting to me now, thanks to M103, the law in Canada that says if you do not use a person's preferred pronoun, you can pretty much go to jail or be fined. And so they're really cracking down on hate crime, because if you accidentally use him or her, she or he, to what you assume somebody's gender is because that's what you've been taught your entire life, and it's actually really difficult to start calling somebody by their new married name because you've called them by that their entire life, you can go to jail for that as a hate crime. But if somebody literally punches someone in the face and say, "I hate your ethnicity," and knocks out their tooth, that's not a hate crime, because I don't know.
So we're gonna try to go to Dinesh D'Souza's new movie. And I want to show you some. I think I have a clip here where he outs Richard Spencer, and I have no battery. And he outs Richard Spencer for being a racist, and showing how it's connected to like the Democratic Party and not the Republican Party. In a recent interview on C-SPAN, Dinesh D'Souza exposed the leading U.S. Nazi Jason Kessler and Richard Spencer as liberal shills. As the Gateway pundit reported last fall, white supremacist and Unite the Right leader Jason Kessler was once reportedly a sponsor of former President Barack Obama, pretty much like right up until like Trump got elected. Kessler once dumped a Jewish girlfriend because she was not liberal enough. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Kessler revealed his political transformation around November 2016, the same month Donald Trump won the election. Dinesh D'Souza exposes Nazi Jason Kessler, Richard Spencer on C-SPAN. The conservative author calls out Jason Kessler as Occupy Wall Street activist, Obama voter, Richard Spencer as big supporter of the Democrats. Let me see if I can get this video here. Here we go.
Fine. How do you respond to people when they point to what happened in Charlottesville and that the president would not, the president said there were bad people on both sides?
Well, this is really, I would say, the trump card, if I can use that term, in our movie, because I have uncovered an aspect of Charlottesville that is not in the public debate, and that is the whole point of Charlottesville. There was a tragedy in Charlottesville, and that won't change. Somebody was run over and killed, and so it was a tragic event in that sense. What I'm contesting is the meaning of that event, because from the left's point of view, this was right-wing white supremacy. And that was the whole point for Trump to condemn it. These are right-wing white supremacists. I deny that. I deny that. And I deny it now based upon a close analysis of who was there and who these white supremacists are. Now, in this book, Death of a Nation, I go through the list. Jason Kessler, the the organizer of Charlottesville, turns out to be an Obama activist and an Occupy Wall Street guy. Now think about this. Does it make any sense that someone who's an Obama voter and supporter becomes a white supremacist? That makes no sense to me. So you think the media would be like, let's check this guy out, right? Well, there was a Charlottesville paper that did. It looked into his background. Turns out he has a long left-wing history. They interview his girlfriend, and she goes, he broke up with me because I'm too conservative. This guy, Jason Kessler. Now we move on to the poster boy of white supremacy, Richard Spencer. This guy is so controversial. When he went to speak in Florida, the governor declared a state of emergency. So I interview him in the film, and it's riveting. It's about 4 minutes in the movie. And I ask him a series of questions, very illuminating. I ask him, for example, does he believe that all men are created equal? No. I say, does he believe in individual dignity? No. Does he believe in the right to life? No. Where do rights come from? He says, well, they don't come from God. So, well, where do they come from? He goes, they come from the government. So he's a statist. He believes the government gives you your rights. Then I ask him, what do you think of Reagan? He goes, terrible president. I go, who are your favorite presidents? He lists a bunch of Democrats. And I go, well, those are all Democrats. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, but it's just a party. And he's naming people like Andrew Jackson, was the founder of the Democratic Party. The point I'm trying to make is that the white supremacists are not conservative. They're not conservative in the modern American sense of conservative. They're unrecognizable to a normal conservative, and that's obvious from the movie. So what I'm doing really is, through a combination of history, investigative journalism, contesting these prevailing narratives, but I'm doing it in a responsible and civil way. My only objection to what the left does to the movie is you have all these critics.
Wow.
Wow.
I at least watched, I think I have it in my Twitter.
So, I knew that about Kessler. Is that the right word? The
Jason Kessler.
Jason Kessler. I knew his liberal background. I didn't know about him dumping his girlfriend because she wasn't liberal enough. But I didn't know about the Spencer. Is that his last name?
Here it is. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Hail our people! Liberal. Hail victory!
Protests over Richard Spencer's visit turning violent.
White nationalist Richard Spencer is speaking at the University of Florida. The Governor Rick Scott did declare a state of an emergency.
Have they become kind of a symbol? Africans have benefited from their experience with white supremacy. If Africans had never existed, world history would be almost exactly the same as it is today.
Yeah, you just
because we are the genius that drives it.
You don't get to tell me what I will be.
Because my name's Richard Spencer.
Richard Spencer, founder of the so-called alt-right movement.
Their movement is broadly referred to as alt-right.
Richard Spencer, a prominent member of the alt-right.
What does Richard Spencer actually believe?
No individual has a right outside of a collective community. You have rights, not eternally or given by God or by nature.
Who gives them to us?
You have them because you're a part of this community. Ultimately, the state gives those rights to you.
So the state is the source of rights, not the individual?
It simply is.
What would be your take on, say, Reagan?
I do not think that he was a great president.
Who's your favorite president?
There is something about Jackson. There's something about Polk as well, someone who only served one term.
But I mean, Jackson and Polk, as you know, both Democrats.
Party is just the vessel that one uses.
I mean, Jackson's the founder of the Democratic Party.
Death of a nation.
It is now up to us to save America the second time.
Fantastic.
So we were gonna go see that, but then Grandma's, in hospice, so we are just we're gonna say that. But I want you guys to go see it and tell us.
It literally just came out today, so well, last night I think it probably would have come out in theaters, but seriously,
yeah. So that that we knew. And so when President Trump had said there were crazy people on both sides, you guys have to understand what was not told is that there was a Unite the Right party, and then that wasn't organized by Richard Spencer. But then Richard Spencer was going to show up, and it was kind of this mesh. And I really do think he's a shill. I do think he's a plant. The way he comes across, he does not believe what he's saying. He is an actor, and he is definitely, what do they call it when you're getting to your role and it becomes real to you? You know what I'm talking about, when you're acting and it's like real.
I don't know. I'm thinking Stockholm Syndrome, and that's associating with your tormentor.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. When somebody else can put it in the chat.
When they don't ever leave the character and they just
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So he's never left his character.
Right.
Like Joaquin Phillips did that for a while. Phoenix did that for a
while.
So anyways, the Democratic Party's always been the racist party. And at Charlottesville, there were people who showed up because they did think it was a right-wing rally. And then it was like this, there were all these white supremacists there, and they're like little white t-shirts, and they're like, all had the comb-over haircuts. Like, it wasn't organic. It wasn't natural.
Right.
They all look the same. They all look
disgustingly. But when we go back to look at Jason Kessler, and we see his history, we realize that it was a complete setup. And the actual accident that happened, and I don't know if Dinesh D'Souza goes into this in his movie, but our own mediocre investigations have uncovered some really disturbing facts about that accident, about the kid who drove the car and killed the young lady, about the young lady herself.
Well, a lot of these people do is like, even with the leftists and the Antifa, they prey on mentally disabled people, and he was mentally disabled.
Yeah.
Like, he had gotten in all kinds of trouble with his mom. His mom's like, he's not mentally stable.
Right.
So then they pull out some like normal people, right? And the rest of them are all just plants.
And then there are some questions about whether this girl even died, if it's like a Sandy Hook kind of thing.
Well, we're not going to pull an Alex Jones.
I'm not. Listen, you know what?
Alex Jones is being sued right now.
They can't sue our channel. I'm just saying.
I don't want somebody to go back years later.
I can say that there are questions without saying it actually is.
She died.
Okay, Leah can say that.
All right, so that we cover all our bases.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that she died.
She died, and we're sorry that she died.
So, we do have people in Chicago who are fed up with the violence, and these black people, they want Donald Trump to help.
Say that he cares more about the illegal immigrants that are in the city than the African Americans.
I said exactly that. He cares more about non-citizens.
Ron Emanuel, I think, that whoever's the mayor of Chicago is who she's talking about.
African Americans, we're citizens, and our ancestors built this country. He got some good things, but I think he don't step up and come to the people where the crime is. You know what I'm saying? The crime is on the south side and the west side.
We have to make sure that President Trump recognized that not everyone believes that Chicago is a Trump-free zone. If he's serious about helping the people in Chicago, especially on the west side of Chicago, I accept his help. We can't turn any help away. We have to make sure that people understand that criminals cannot have their way with our streets. We have to protect our youth. We have to protect our seniors, and people have to have safe places to walk. And so, you know, one murder is too many. And so if Chicago Police Department and all the other law enforcement can't do it, we should seek other help.
So then, not only that, but we had a bunch, like, Donald Trump met with some pastors, and I wanted to show you that. But I also wanted to show you, here you go.
And Devonna, thank you. She says, ladies, I want to lift you up in prayer for you and the season you're going through. May God give you all peace through this time, and may you all have good memories.
Amen.
Thank you for that, and amen.
So, pastor praises Trump as pro-black at prison reform event. President Donald Trump was lauded by inner-city pastors, including one who said he may go down as the most pro-black president in recent history.
Wow.
During a White House roundtable on Wednesday that was focused on efforts to reform the prison system, Trump told the group, which included pastors and bishops from across the country, that his administration has been making progress on efforts to make it easier for prisoners to re-enter society and find work. When we say higher American, we mean all Americans. Among those gathered was Daryl Scott, a black pastor in Ohio, who supported Trump early on. This is probably the most proactive administration regarding urban America and the faith-based community in my lifetime, he said. This is probably going to be the most pro-black president that we have ever seen in our lifetime.
Wow.
The last president didn't feel that he had to, saying of Obama, he got a pass. So I thought I had a little clip of some of those pastors meeting. Sydney's down here wanting attention because we've been gone all day. So here's this clip here I want to show you.
Well, thank you very much. It's my great honor to be here today with some of the leading pastors and faith leaders from across our nation. These are great people, most of whom I know, and my administration is open 100%, and we have been. We've had tremendous support, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you all being here today. In case you don't know, that's called the media. Wonderful people. I like you better. I'm very happy to welcome these great leaders, including my good friends, Pastor Paula White, Bishop Harry Jackson, Dr. Alveda King. Thank you for being here. Darrell Scott, who's been with me from, I think before I even announced. He was saying, you should run. Thank you, Darrell. Today we'll discuss the progress we've made, and it's been tremendous, and the next steps we must take to continue bringing opportunity and safety to all of our citizens. Throughout our history, America's churches and religious leaders have called for change and have inspired us to care for and bring hope back to those in need. So many people in need. These are the people that they do a job, and it's really largely unrecognized, which is something they don't even care about, frankly. They just want to take care of people. But the people realize it, and they...
So that's Trump praising ministers in our country. And
does anybody else not love... I mean, you can't not love Alveda King. I just...
I
her
love
expressions,
King.
She's very
she's amazing,
poised. She's very comfortable, and she's very confident being with the president. Yeah. Like, she is on an equal playing field with him. Well, she's not like humbled by him.
He's also made her that way,
right? I'm just saying, like, she's not in awe. Like, this is the president. It's how can we work together to solve problems?
So when I see people like CNN saying, and this gets to our last clip, and we're going to sign off. But this totally plays into the clip with Sarah Sanders, with Jim Acosta saying, you know, Trump needs to do this, Trump needs to do that, Trump needs to do this.
Right.
And I could show you, but I don't need to. If you want to watch Sean Hannity, they show this stuff like every single night. The media going over and over, calling Trump a racist, saying that he's got hateful rhetoric. And when you see him sitting down at this table full of black ministers, and they feel on an equal plane. You can just tell these are people and their friends.
Right.
So I have to. So how is this a racist? Like Woodrow Wilson played a Klan movie in the White House.
Right.
But he's the guy who got our Federal Reserve and our income tax passed in 1913.
Right, and the liberals praise him for that.
And FDR.
Yeah, it was just the time. It was bad that he did that. You're right, but he did so many other good things. Okay, so what really bothers me about the left calling Trump a racist, especially when he has consistently done things like this, is you know what they are saying to these people?
They're just...
That they are just the white man's, you know, whatever, slave, you know, I don't know what the right word is. Thank you. That's what they are saying, and that is incredibly disrespectful and incredibly racist to do that to these respectable ministers of color. Mm-hmm. All right, so now do you want me to play the
we're going to end with video? This is, you guys are just going to die.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, my gosh.
So the dogs have been moving the camera. It's been kind of dancing. Sorry. It's part of our show. You guys like it. All right, here we go. This time I'm actually going to make it so you can see it right away. How about that?
Please do.
On Sarah's question from NPR, she asked you about Ivanka Trump's statement that the press is not the enemy of the people. And she asked you whether or not the press is the enemy of the people. You read off a laundry list of your concerns about the press and things that you feel like are misreported, but you did not say that the press is not the enemy of the people. And I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we we deserve that.
I think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic. I'm trying to answer your question. Okay, well, I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague. I said it's ironic.
Which is why I interrupted.
I'm trying.
But if you finish, if you would not mind letting me have a follow-up, that would be fine. But
it's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric, when they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
Wow. That's a mic drop, really, for Sarah.
Whoa, Sarah.
That man, like, can he be kicked out, though? I mean, seriously, can he, like, okay, you know what? CNN, you're no longer allowed to send Jim Acosta because he disrupts.
Not have anyone else to send?
No, I mean, why can't they actually make an official, you're not allowed to come back?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's absolutely insane. I don't know. I think they like the ratings that Jim seems to get, and I think that they like the banter. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So it's kind of a crazy situation there. So, all right, guys, that's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show.
We love you. I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
I'm looking at the comments here.
Toot it over. There you go. All right, so Kelly and Chris are going to be going live at 9 o'clock tonight. So in an hour and 15 minutes, go back to Chris Holman's channel. Kelly, you can put that link in the chat here for everybody to go to. Kelly says, Leah, you look amazing today.
Wow, thank you.
It's been a long day, so that's incredible that you look amazing. We went out to a farm.
Amazing could be like when people come to our farm and say, wow, it's really interesting here.
Yeah, they say that sometimes. But speaking of going to farms, we went to a farm called Seven Brothers Farm today because they have bought piglets from us 2 years running. And they also bought a pregnant sow from somebody else that was supposed to give birth 4 weeks ago. And they're like, is she pregnant? So we went out there. It was an amazing day. A couple of hours out there. We got to throw hatchets.
We threw some hatchets today. Matt was pretty good at it.
We did. Actually, I have some pictures I can probably hold up to the webcam that you can see.
Make sure you don't put other.
I'm going to make sure there's no identifying things. And they actually do this really cool thing where they donate. They grow these flowers and they donate one bouquet to a hospice for every bouquet that's bought. It's called the Bloom Project. So they sent us with one with Grandma Marilyn. So hang on here. We have Kansas. That's him mid-throw of the hatchet there.
Thank you for being here as she returned in front of the camera. No song tonight. I think we sang ourselves out today. We were singing for Grandma Marilyn. So hopefully we'll have a song for you guys on Sunday.
And here's the deal. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. We hope and plan to be here on Sunday at 1 on our regular time. If for some reason we are not here, I think the only reason that would keep us from being here would be Grandma Marilyn, and you'll just have to understand that. And maybe I would step aside and do a brief little video like I did today, so that you can know that that's why we're not going live. So again, thank you guys for being here. We love you.
Our animals
are
doing fantastic. We did, however, lose a chicken yesterday. We don't know to what. Maybe a raccoon, maybe even a cat. Just left feathers, and we're really sad because it was one of our little precious Plymouth Rocks.
I know. It was really sad. Yeah. What a bummer. So Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. We're having a glitch with the Facebook Live, which obviously if you're here, I'm going to guess you don't really go to Facebook, but I did post it on Facebook and on Twitter, so maybe you do and you got here because of that. Facebook is going through a transition phase of trying to squash the conservative viewpoint, which I think is what's happening here. Interestingly, I believe, I don't know, that the reason why our issue with YouTube was resolved is because Trump got a hold of Mike Adams' 50-page report on Air Force One, and because he came out and he's like he was going to look into it and make some changes and see, you know, this is unfair. So I think that, so we're free on YouTube, back in jail on Facebook. I don't know, whatever it is, what it is. We have a P.O. Box. 107 Milford, Ohio 45150. You can send your letters there and we will read them on air. Thanks to our moderators who were here. I don't know, Kelly, Britt Baza, Gary, Maia, Worth a Look. I don't even remember if I'm missing somebody. If I am, forgive me. You guys know that I love you anyway. So we'll see you back Sunday, hopefully, Lord willing.
Yeah.
And thank you guys once again for all of your prayers. They are very, very valued and appreciated. So, all right, have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, guys.
I was called